Welcome back for another video. Final thoughts and tips ahead of the deadline. I'm going to be covering the biggest questions sent in by you this week, and then my final team for GW25. So, first question from Tom FC, who asked whether we should be ignoring the Villa assets for the double or not. Yeah, I mean, the allure of the double game weeks is always strong. Like, look at Game Week 24. Millions of us buying the likes of Ndai, Mikalenko, Beto, Pickford, etc. And they did pretty well in fairness. And it's a similar story with Villa. They've got an easier first game, Ipswich home, obviously Everton had Leicester home, and then it is Liverpool home for the second game. So if so many of us bought Everton assets, then surely we'd do the same with Villa now. Well, the key difference is Villa are going to blank in Game Week 29, so you gain a fixture now and then you sacrifice one later. If you've got a few free transfers, or if you plan to free hit Game Week 29, then it is an option, but the options at Villa are pretty limited. Like, we're waiting to hear on Watkins and whether he's going to make the double or if he's out injured. So Rodgers is easily the best attacker currently. I'd avoid Marlon and Rashford just because of that uncertainty on their minutes. Like, if Watkins is ruled out for the double, then I guess Marlon probably plays both and starts both. Disasi looks nailed to start given all the injuries, and he's only 4.2 mil, but with so many injuries, like, do they keep at least one clean sheet? Martinez looks good as well, and there's lots of save points potentially if you can afford him. Only if he's going to be your second keeper, and then if he is, then you're basically unaffected in goal for Game Week 29. So yeah, it's quite team dependent, there's no blanket answer to this one. If you can afford to buy one and still be fine in Game Week 29, then yeah, it's fine to buy, otherwise no. Teddy says, after the assistant manager ends for them next week, what's the best chip strategy for the rest of the season? So obviously the best chip strategy is going to depend on what chips you've used already. If like Teddy you've used your assistant manager, or if you're going to be using it this week, then the popular strategy is to wildcard between Game Week 30 to 32 to prepare for that double Game Week 33, which is when you bench boost, and then you free hit immediately afterwards in blank Game Week 34, and then if you still got your triple captain, use it in double Game Week 36 later in the season. Or if you're all out of chips by then that's fine. Now, you could dead end your team into that blank Game Week 29, basically bringing in players that you really don't want to have longer term, just to get you over the line in the blank, and then you wildcard them straight back out your team straight after in Game Week 30, and just aim to have anywhere from 12 to 15 players even that double in Game Week 33. Now, these fixtures here are based on the market odds for Game Week 33 and 34, and it could look differently, but just to give a picture. If your assistant manager is not active and you've still got your triple captain, then I'd just use the triple captain this week on Salah and save the assistant manager for later. Game Week 24 made more sense as the entry point for assistant manager because there was the back-to-back doubles on the table, whereas now you've just got the one with Villa. Or presumably you're tripled up on Liverpool anyway, otherwise Slot's an option of course. So just on Slot actually, JD asks if the Slot red card affects the assistant manager chip. And the answer to this is no. The managers are actually irrelevant, weirdly, even though that's what the chip's named. Like, they could get sacked or sent off or whatever, and it doesn't matter. It's just how the team does, basically. So you'll still get all the points from Slot next game week, even though he's suspended, unless they successfully appeal or something. I actually did a full video on how to use the chip and maximise its points, so if you've not seen that, make sure you give it a watch. I'll put it on screen at the end. CJD asks if Isak is a sell. He says tough fixture run, plus blank Game Week 29 ahead. So looking at the fixtures then, it's Man City away, then it's Forest home, Liverpool away, West Ham away, blank game week. My question really is, well, who are you going to sell him for? Like, the only player you could make a case for in my eyes is Watkins for the double game week if he's fully fit. But of course, if you got Isak early, then that's a lot of money potentially lost. I would lose 0.5 mil if I sell Isak. I've not ruled it out for Game Week 29, but it is something weighing on my mind. It's a lot of money to lose. 17 goals, 5 assists in 22 starts. So 22 returns in 22 this season for Isak. And he's scored against Arsenal and Liverpool already this season, so he's looking fixture proof and his confidence is so high. So I'm not keen on selling right now. I was weighing up Jackson in Game Week 27 because he's got Southampton and Leicester home back to back, but now he's ruled out till I think it's April, so he's not an option either. If we get a very positive update on Watkins before the deadline, like he's in photos and training etc, then it is a move to consider, like, especially if you're looking to chase upside. Like, taking on Isak when he's about 60% ownership with Watkins at 17% is a massive rank gain potential if Isak were to struggle in the next few game weeks, and if you're looking for a potential ticket up the ranks, but it could go the opposite way. Okay, let's break it up with a look at the scout selection. What's the best team for Game Week 25? So they've gone with Martinez in goal, Van Dijk, Gabriel and Kirkes in defence, Salah captain, Palmer, Trossard, Kluivert, Rodgers, Watkins and Gakpo. So triple Villa, triple Liverpool obviously. I think they've gone with Van Dijk here as a hedge on Trent's minutes after that injury. I was quite worried by Slot's quote pre-match last match. He was asked about Trent's chances of starting that game against Everton and he said, not even close at all. He can come on for a few minutes, it's nice to have him. So I was expecting him to play like 5 minutes at the end. But Trent came on for about the final 30 minutes, or 40 minutes including stoppage, so that's way more than just a few minutes. Anyway, obviously you keep Trent if you've got him, likewise Gakpo. I actually do think there's a chance Gakpo's rested for one of the next two, but maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe Diaz is the one that gets a rest. But again, you've got to keep him if you got him. Like Jota and Darwin were both on the bench last match. It's a nice team. We'll talk more about Trossard in a minute. So who are the most bought and sold players around the world this week? For Double Gameweek 25, it's actually not a Double Gameweek player. 556,000 have bought Kluivert, and then 290,000 have bought Wood, and then it's Rodgers, Kerkez, Gakpo, Mateta and Mbeumo. I'm quite surprised to see 130,000 bought Rashford. I don't know if his minutes are that secure for the double, really. And likewise, 103,000 have already bought Watkins, when at the time of recording we still don't know if he's actually going to play. Gordon is the most sold player, and then it's Ahmad, Hull, Isak, Trent, Jackson and Watkins. So Watkins heavily sold as well as bought, which is quite confusing. Hopefully you're not in either camp. It's best to wait for the presses before making any transfers, particularly when there's injury doubts anyway. So, what are the market odds for next game week? Well, this week, Arsenal are the favourites for a clean sheet, 50% chance against Leicester away. And then it's Liverpool with 46% chance playing Wolves at Anfield. Liverpool top for projected goals as well, with 2.9. 2.25 by the way for Bournemouth away at Southampton, so it is a great week to buy Bournemouth mids, and we'll discuss which one's the best in a sec. Villa have projected 2.25 goals against Ipswich, so Rodgers could be nice, if he ticks the box based on that first segment we discussed. Then it's just 1.28 projected goals against Liverpool for Villa. Villa's first match has got a 40% clean sheet chance, and then it's 15% against Liverpool. Bournemouth midfielders then. Axel Plays asks which one to buy, and they're selling Sarr. Semenyo or Kluivert or Dango. Let's get to the bottom of this. 5.7 mil, 5.9 mil and 5.1 mil. Semenyo the best one for minutes and underlying data. Kluivert's got the most points and he is on pens. And Dango's playing out of position striker and he's the cheapest. Now FPL is a game of luck at times, and without hindsight all three of these are genuinely great. Even if one does badly, two do great, or one ends up doing really well, the other two keep blanking. But let's look at their underlying data for the season. Kluivert's 10.68 XGI is actually marginally best, and then it's Semenyo of 10.61, and then it's Dango 8.1 XGI. However, looking at minutes per XGI, Kluivert fares best. But the only thing here is, he's taken 6 penalties this season, and he has scored all 6. But that's like extraordinarily high really, for this stage of the season as well. Now look at that second last column, non-penalty XG. Semenyo comfortably better there. So yeah, 6 pens have massively inflated Kluivert's expected goals this season. If we add expected assists and non-penalty XG together, then Kluivert's actually the worst of the three, with 5.95 XGI. Semenyo 10.61, Dango 8.1. If I was going to pick a top 3, mine would actually be Semenyo, then Kluivert, then Dango. If you'd like to play around with the data tables more, then everyone that I use for my videos is in the Scouts members area. Use the link below to get 40% off. It supports the channel as well if you check it out. I actually owe a lot of points to the data tables. Like the only reason I went Tarkowski over Mikalenko last gaming was because of the way better underlying attacking data. Alright, so lastly, Arsenal, an injury crisis. Jesus out for the season, Saka and Martinelli sidelined for a while, and now Havertz is out for the season as well with a hamstring injury. So the options are really thin up top. And FPL and Fitness asks if Nwaneri is a good short-term option. Now Arteta doesn't have any choice really, he's going to have to play the 17-year-old. He is an incredible talent, he's very, very highly rated. He scored 3 times this season, he's only started 3 games. Now the thing that puts me off him is he could still come off early. There are players that could come off the bench for him. And by the time we get to blank Gameweek 29, there is a chance that Saka's back. There's a chance that Martinelli's back as well. So Trossard's actually the one that I'd highly recommend. It does cost a fair bit more at 6.8 mil, but he's pretty clinical and he's going to be playing out of position striker. Leicester up next as well. I'd avoid Nwaneri and go for someone like Dango for a little bit more money. So onto my team for Gameweek 25. It's Raya in goal, Munoz, Trent and Tarkowski in defence, Fernandez, Salah, Palmer, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Isak and Wissa. And on the bench, Fabianski, Colwill, Greaves and Strand Larsen. So yeah, Tarkowski and Colwill feels like a coin toss. In the team selection video I had Colwill starting, but after a 17 pointer I've got to give Tarkowski the nod. I've just got one free transfer, 0.3 mil on the bank. Now one transfer I've ruled out is Isak to Watkins. So one option I'm looking at is Grieve to Disasi, which I've got exact money to do since Disasi is only 4.2 mil. Now this fixes that problem of having to play one of Tarkowski or Colwill for the away fixtures they've got. But like I said earlier, it's similar to Tarkowski last double. It's a good first fixture that's got clean sheet potential, but then it's Liverpool for Disasi. My worry with Villa is all those injuries. Now Everton still have Tarkowski, Branthwaite, Mikalenko, etc. Villa probably won't have Konsa, no Cash, no Powell, no Mings. So gut feeling's telling me this time round it's a swerve. There is a more potential exciting move that's going to cost me 4 points if I do it. It's Tarkowski to Gabriel, and then it's Bruno to Trossard. And it almost feels like I can cash in a -4 after Tarkowski bagged me 17 points last game week. So I'm not opposed to taking a hit this week. And again, this fixes that issue of having to play one of Tarkowski or Colwill, and it gets me double Arsenal defence against Leicester. And it also gets me Trossard, who, as I said earlier, it could be a massive differential. He's 6.8 mil, he's 2.6% owned, and he's nailed in the second best team in the league playing striker. I actually do wonder if Arsenal are going to be as solid defensively though. No one's covered more distance per game than Havertz on average this season, and his pressing from the front is going to be missed a lot. Plus his height as well always gives Arsenal an outlet for long balls. I can see opponents recycling the ball easier, winning those duels when it's centre backs against Trossard instead. So it's not a straightforward one. I could just roll a transfer and then use one transfer next week to sell Slot, and maybe another one for a Bournemouth midfielder. If I buy Gabriel and Trossard, then obviously I'm not going to be able to buy Arteta for the West Ham home game either in Game Week 26. So if I do sell Slot, where do I go? I'm not that keen on the Disasi move either, so basically I've narrowed it down to making those two moves for a -4 or just rolling the transfer. Let me know below, which one do you like more? If the deadline was in 5 minutes, then I think I would just roll the transfer. I'm going to think it over more. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure you're subscribing for FPL content like this every week in your feed. We'll be live for the deadline as well Friday afternoon. See you then.